What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Crew 2. And well, as y'all know, it is Wednesday already because apparently the weeks are now flying by. But the new summit is now live, guys. It's going to be the Under the Radar. Before we jump into this one, though, let's take a look at the rewards and the upcoming summits as well. So, we're going to have the live reward sniffer boosted in the Rallycross class. That's definitely a weird set, but also something I'm probably going to test out and see if it's actually worth using. And then in gold, we're going to have the Catch Me Underglow, which is kind of self-explanatory. But moving over to the next summit, though, Beyond Space is once again returning with the really cool looking Raptor from Outer Space Edition. I would actually say this car is going to be worth going after, guys, mainly because it's the only dually in the game that I did mention last week as well. Plus, it's going to be pretty dang unique looking with that crazy UFO in the back. And not only that, I would also say the performance on this vehicle is probably going to be pretty shocking. And then in gold, we're going to have the light blue rewind tint there, which looks kind of interesting. And then in silver, we have the second part of the legendary half set for the Alpha GP vehicles, with some very useless affixed stats on there. But taking a look at this summit, though, it looks like it's going to be a nice mix of events because we get to use basically every single vehicle class. Even all the skills as well are also going to be different. So I think this summit's going to be really fun. We will also have to use lots of different vehicles, including the Raptor in the Rally Raid event as well, which if I do remember correctly is going to be a pretty interesting race. But moving over to the next summit, guys, is going to be the Blizzard Rush. So I think this one's going to be pretty fun. In gold, we have the Mazda MX-5, which if I had to guess, I would say most players probably already own this vehicle. Then in silver, we will have a legendary half set for the Power Boats, which is going to be Bucks and or Pure, I believe that is. Crazily enough, I would actually say this is going to be one of the better sets we've seen in quite a while. I do think Bucks is actually kind of useful on Nitro Chemist if you guys do like grinding races and stuff, so that's definitely something to go after. And then in Platinum, we will have the No Rules Underglow, which is kind of interesting. Also kind of a weird epic reward there as well. But moving over to the last summit, which is going to be Road Samurai once again making its return back into the game here. So if you guys did miss the Black Knight edition, you will now have another chance to grab this vehicle. It's definitely a pretty awesome looking Lancer. And then finally, guys, we're going to have the second part of the legendary half set boosted for the power boats. So this is one of those affixed stats that I would actually be okay with having on there because Bucks is always going to be good for grinding. Obviously, Nitro Chemist is going to make the boats insanely fast. So if you guys did want to grind some events out, I would actually recommend going after a set like this because I would say it's pretty useful, especially compared to some of the other sets we've seen previously. Now, besides all that, moving over to the Under the Radar Summit here, starting off with the Slalom. So for this one, guys, I did actually end up using the Ducati Panigale R once again. I would say for these slaloms that are on the racetracks, you could probably almost use any vehicle choice of your liking. You could use the street cars, the touring vehicles, the Alpha GP. I actually managed to complete one of these with a drift vehicle as well, so I would definitely say these slaloms are going to be a lot more fun with the variety of vehicles. That's also going to go for the one on the end as well. But the next skill, guys, is going to be an aerobatics. For this one, I ran the Zivko Edge 540 V3, which is basically the only plane I use. I would also say you could probably run any of the planes if you would like to, though. But my favorite is indeed the Zivko. Now, moving over to the last skill, guys, is going to be an off-road slalom. I did end up using the Koenigsegg Regera, which once again probably makes absolutely no sense, but on this one, you really can use any vehicle. Once again, I was only doing like 105 miles per hour, and I still managed to get 28,000 points on this. So you can definitely run any vehicle of your liking on these guys, including probably an Alpha GP vehicle, which I would honestly say would probably struggle just a little bit because they're honestly pretty terrible off-road. But now moving over to the first event here is going to be a no restriction street race. And for the car on this one, guys, I once again ran the Porsche 911 Carrera 4S. I would even go as far as saying this car might be slightly underrated. The main reason why is I really don't see many people run this vehicle, but my goodness can it handle. I'm actually running this vehicle on most of the summits now, and I cannot believe how good it actually is. Not only does it have a really high top speed, but my goodness, the way this car can corner is honestly going to be pretty incredible. But moving over to the next event, you guys will get to use the returning Camaro Z28, which by the way, stay tuned later in the week for the Camaro Z28 Enforcer unit and or the TRX Enforcer unit as well. I absolutely love the TRX, that thing is awesome, but I'm honestly pretty shocked with the Camaro. I'm definitely going to test this vehicle out more, guys, because I was really surprised with the way this vehicle did handle. I was basically thinking the car wasn't going to do that good when I first started the event, but basically on the second corner I was like, alright, this thing's actually going to have some potential. I would actually use the Enforcer unit in other summits coming up as well. Like, I think this car is that good. If you guys are running manual though, the Enforcer unit's probably going to be on the weird side to get used to, but I would say this is probably one of the easiest 4-speeds in the game to use. Even flying around corners with this thing honestly felt at home, so I really cannot wait to try out the Z28 in the future. But moving over to the next event, you guys will get to drive one of my favorite rally raid vehicles in the game when it comes to looks at least. I'm also a huge fan of the TRX in real life, so I really do love this thing. For me, one of my favorite things is not only going to be the handling of this truck, but also the stability that it does have. This thing can basically fly around corners with ease, and not only that though, guys, if you happen to mess up, I feel like the Ram is going to be very forgivable in so many ways. So now that this truck is back in the game, I cannot wait to test this thing out more, or maybe even cruise around because the TRX is going to look that dang good. But moving over to the next event, guys, is going to be a hypercar event. For this one, I actually used the Bugatti Veyron 16.4 Grand Sport. This might be one of the first times I've ever used this Bugatti in one of the events, and my goodness, guys, I would highly recommend trying this thing out. I'm sure many people have been noticing how I basically been using very weird cars on basically all the summits. I'm sure you guys are going to notice by looking at the leaderboard what most people are going to be running here, but my goodness, I would say the Bugatti is going to be a very good choice. Not only did this vehicle handle very well, but I really haven't used the Veyron all that much. I would actually say doing this event in it might make me jump back into this vehicle here and there. But now moving over to the next event, guys, is going to be a rallycross race where you get to drive one of the best rallycross vehicles in the entire game. I really do love racing the Cadillac because this thing is so much fun to drive. I mean, it basically handles perfectly on every corner. It's also going to have some of the best stability in the entire game as well. Now, one thing I can't lie about though is I really don't use this vehicle like I used to. If one of the events in the summits pop up as a no restriction, I basically stopped using the Escalade a very long time ago. But don't get me wrong though, guys, this is by far going to be one of the best choices for all the races, including the Mitsubishi WRC05 as well, so definitely try this thing out if you have not. And then finally, moving over to the last event in the summit is going to be where you will have to drive a rally raid vehicle in a rallycross event. It's also going to be a US Speed Tour race that's going to take around 5 minutes to complete. So for this one, guys, you will basically want to use something like the Raptor Enforcer unit. I would probably say that's going to be a way better choice than the Pontiac GTO. I really do think this is probably not going to be the best vehicle to use on this with it being a 4-speed. I was finding myself shifting so much around these corners trying to get around them as quickly as possible. I still managed to get 136,000 points, but it's probably not going to be the best vehicle on this. And by the way, guys, this event's going to have a lot of turns in it, which I did notice right off the bat, and I was basically thinking the Pontiac's a horrible choice, but yet it still did pretty dang decent overall. But I would have to admit, guys, I think this summit was a lot of fun, even though some of the events are probably going to really test out some of these vehicles. I would say one of the biggest surprises to me is the way the Camaro Z28 handled. I really cannot wait to do more testing on the Z28 because my goodness, this car was insanely impressive. But nonetheless though, guys, if you have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. Let's jump right into the summit.